This song, which is Bridge Over Troubled Water. It was a Simon and Garfunkel song. I like them very much. This is the third song I picked from their works. And I matched it with a Wang Bo 的a very short poem. It's a 送别的一个诗哈, one of the very famous one, seeing a friend off on a trip, okay? And after I send you the the handout, I worked on it this morning and I made some changes. So right now, the changes are here right underneath. I want to talk about Electoral College first, so we don't miss it again. Then I have a Declaration of Independence, and then I added David and the Queen Victoria. Queen Victoria was in the handout already, but the major change is that I chose to talk about Electoral College right now, okay, before anything else. This is called Electoral College, which is a 选举人团. That is where you have the popular vote, 就是所有的全民投票出来的结果. That does not decide the result of the election, because all the people are doing is to choose a group of Electoral College members who will then cast a vote to decide who is the president. So there's another process in between our election and the result, which is called the Electoral College. And how does that work? That is, each state has a number of electors equal to its congressional representation in both houses. That is, for example, our state, we had a number which is 12. 12, two of them represent our two senators, and the 10, the remaining 10 represent the number of our House of Representatives. 所以我们有上议院的2个议员，又有下议院的10个议员，一起合起来 that's 12 members. The number of our state electoral college is that number. And so we would cast our popular vote and decide which side wins. For example, our state is always on the Democratic side. So our 12 votes would go entirely to Joe Biden. This is where it comes from, where the problem comes from, because the winner takes all. This system, 就是说, no matter how many or how less people cast a vote for which side, the side that wins even by just one vote would take along with him all our electoral college members. So after you go through all the states, the problem becomes very, very great, and the people just did not like it. But there has been many times people, our Senate and the House of Representatives, they tried to change this, but not successful. So do you understand that each state will vote to decide which party, which candidate, presidential candidate is our favorite? As long as we have a majority, even by a very, very slim margin, our entire state would go for that candidate. Okay, did people understand so far? Okay, so there are more rules. For example, a District of Columbia, which is not a state, so they would have a way to determine their representation. We don't have to go into that. Now, when they cast the vote for the winner of the popular vote in their state, they would have to vote for one instead of in proportion to the votes. 所以就是说 each state cast the popular vote, 就是大家投了票以后 who wants the most ballots would the state, our 12 votes would all go to that person, for example, Biden. But there are exceptions. There are a very few states that do not have this kind of law. So you have to go state by state to tell how to calculate. But right now, we're not going into that detail either. So the general rule is that the winner takes all of the electoral college number. The winner would get the vote. And there are a total of 538 electors. So whoever wins has to win more than half of that number, which is 270. So the magic number is 270. And we are witnessing Joe Biden's number going toward that number faster, closer than Donald Trump. So if you keep your fingers crossed, when all the votes are counted, we hope to see Joe Biden win. And that's the rule. The magic number is 270. Okay. Now comes a very recent example where this system did not go right. In the year 2000, it was Al Gore and George Bush in competition to win presidency. And in the end, George Bush got the entire 25 votes from the state of Florida by only winning 500 some votes more than Al Gore. So that is a very, very close call. The two of them fought in Florida for that 25 vote, and the George Bush won. Actually, when the difference is so tiny, the law requires them to have a recount, just to be fair, because there could be some mistake. However, the Supreme Court stepped in and stopped the recount. And Al Gore very graciously declared that he lost. He's not going to fight. He is no Donald Trump. He says, okay, I accept people's vote, and if the court stopped the count, I am not going to fight. So that's the result, even though in the end, Al Gore won more votes than George Bush, about half a point, and more votes, actual votes, than this George Bush, like 500,000 votes. But he is short by a little bit. If he had more than 537 votes in Florida, he would have taken this 25 votes to his side, and his votes will be much more than George Bush. So the entire country cast their votes, but only 537 people mattered in the final decision because they were in a state that is a battleground state or a swinging state. We call that those states where the two parties have very close number of supporters. That kind of state is called a battleground state or a swing state. Swing is like a 秋千那样，摇来摇去的。So just with a little bit of shifting of the votes, it could swing from one side to another side. This is what happened in the year 2000 when we had an Al Gore candidate who won more votes, but he lost. But that was a very civil time when people just, for the good of the country, they decide not to fight or not to argue or not to tell lies about anything. Unlike what Trump is doing now. In the matter of half a day, he told 3 huge lies. He said he already won when he was far from winning. And he said, he wanted a recount of Wisconsin before Wisconsin was already determined that the result was not in yet, and he wanted a recount. He is just full of problems. And here is a chart of the number of electoral college in each state in the year 2000. Which state went for which candidate? The blue ones went for Gore, and the red ones went for Bush. At that time, our state had 11 votes. And Florida, the deciding state, had 25 votes. So their population is twice as much or more. Okay. During that 2000 presidential election, Florida is the one with the narrowest margin. And that's how George Bush won. And the other 4 states listed here, their margin was all less than 1%. They all went to Al Gore. So if you don't like this result, it's not that Bush got away with it, because there are many other states that Gore got away with them. It's just how the system works. And here are a lot more states whose margin of victory was more than 1%, but less than 5%. So these are all very close calls, but not as close as these. These are really, really infinitesimally close margins. Then come to our last election, which is the Electoral College 2016. We had Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump. I talked to you about the word versus many times, but I never versus. Okay. When you have 2 sides, you would say one versus the other. So this versus is a 对立的意思。这个是一个 legal term, 法律的字。At that time, we had Hillary Clinton, who got way more votes, almost 3 million more votes than Trump got. And percentage-wise, she got 48% and Trump got 46%. So there's a 2% difference. However, as luck had it, she got only 227 electoral votes, while Trump got 304. So that looks like a very decent total, because it's way more than the required 270. However, there are many, many states with very, very close margin. So it was a hotly contested election. These are the states, how they voted. And with this, you can see that our state allowed the electoral college members to cast different votes. That's why we had only 8 votes for Hillary, and we had 3 votes for Powell. I guess it's Colin Powell, and 1 vote for Spot Eagle. That's not a person. Anyway, so there's another state here, Texas, and then there's another state, which is Hawaii. They all had to split legions toward their electoral obligation. So their state allowed them to not allow the winner to take all, but the minor votes are very small. We're looking at this map where we could, if we take a closer look, we can see where the difference came in. And it's very clear that on both coasts, they are more liberal, while in the center, it's a lot more conservative. And big cities are more liberal than the countryside. So these are the close states in 2016, where the states with a margin under 1% are Michigan, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. All these have less than 1% difference in their popular votes. And only New Hampshire, which has very few number of electoral college member, only 4 votes, while all the other 3 are quite significant, and they all went to Trump because of very slim margin of winning. We can see that at the end of today, maybe they already called the Wisconsin and Michigan flipped to Biden's side, and the Pennsylvania is leaning toward Trump. However, they are not calling it because they have a large amount. As of last night, there was 1 million votes in Pennsylvania, not counted yet. So they're waiting for these uncounted votes to come to be processed. And most of these ballots were from people who live near Philadelphia, which is traditionally a Democratic stronghold. So it is possible that all these red states could flip, then Biden would have a very comfortable margin of winning. However, if he does not win Pennsylvania, then it's very close. But I think he can, because these 2, Michigan and Wisconsin, was already called today. So he's got a very good number right now. And these states listed below are, they have a margin of victory between 1% and 5%. And the color shows which side they went to. So this is a breakdown of the map, which is different. Every 10 years, there is a census. Do you know the word census? That is 户口普查. Let me see if I can put the word here. Census. Every 10 years, there is in United States, there is a census. And after the census, it's every 10 years, it's like 2010, 2020, which is this year, and the 2000 is the year that also had a census. Once the census is tallied, we say tallied, tally 就是数目都数出来了哈. Once the census result is tallied, then the electoral college member, the number of those members for each state will be adjusted according to the census result. And there will be more or less House of Representative members. For example, if Seattle or Washington State had more people moving in between 2010 and 2020, then it's possible that next time we will have 1 more member of the Electoral College. So this is a new map since 2010, and this is the map on which we did the 2016 election. And this same map, we can view it in this way. It is the same map, except that the number of electoral college members for each state occupies the number of squares on this map. For example, here, Washington State, we had 12 little squares. So you can see that California has 55 votes. So that's a very serious force. If California is pretty much a blue state, a steadily blue state. So when they called California, and there's a total of 55 electoral college numbers would go to this certain candidate who is preferred by most of the Californian voters. So this is a map on which you rarely can figure out where each state is, but it is arranged according to the location of each state, but with the size of the color that matches the total electoral college members. Okay. So you would wonder, why did they invent this system? It's so convoluted. Okay, let me write this down. I'm sorry. Okay. The system is so, let me put it up here, convoluted, 就是糊里糊涂的，很复杂的，让人家搞不清楚。这个字叫做 convoluted, Who invented this system that is so convoluted and yet was in practice for so many years? And there is a reason for it. This is not a brand new system. Throughout history, there were electoral college systems. For example, in Holy Roman Empire, there was a system by which each country would have a prince-elect, and all these prince-elector, okay? So all these countries, for example, Germany or Austria, Belgium, Spain, or whatever, all these European countries, they would have their leader, their king would be a member of the electoral college, and they would gather to vote for an emperor, okay, the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire. Okay, so this is an old system. It was used in many other occasions. It is when people think a direct popular vote is not a good system. Why would that be? From our view here, we think a popular vote is a very good system. It reflects how many people like this candidate and how many people like the other candidate. But it was part of the Constitution amendment that changed our election system to a new one called the Electoral College. And why did they do that? Here we have winner takes all, which we explained before, and some about swing state. We come to talk about the reason that we adopted this system. It's in the 12th Amendment. It's called the Electoral College System. And it is in 1804, I think. That is because the northern part of the United States, suffrage, this word we talked about when we were talking about the women voting right, is called the sister suffragette. Suffrage is the word representing voting right, 就是投票权, At that time, in early 19th century, that is way before the Civil War, the country is already clearly divided into North and the South. In the North, there was a lot of industries and trade and so on and so forth. While in the South, it's mostly agriculture, and mainly they plant tobaccos. They produce tobacco leaves, and they use a lot of slaves. While in the North, they do not use a lot of slaves. So a Black person in the North is a free person, while a Black person in the South is a slave. So the North has a lot of power, a lot more people, especially white people, because at that time slaves cannot vote. So the North, when they are more consciously inclined to participate in the voting process. So if they do a popular count of votes, the North would overwhelm the South. And that seemed unfair, and the South is not happy with this popular vote system. So they started to tinker with the system and came up with this electoral college system. So the reason is more people in the North have voting rights, and the people in the North wanted to make the South agree to participate in this voting process. So they agreed to let the South have more votes than they deserve. So if you count the number of people, white men actually, white men in the states, in the North, there are many more voters than in the South. And in order to make the South happy, they decided to do this electoral college. And in the North, this electoral college is based on how many people in each state in the North. But in the South, they inflated the number so that they get more votes than they deserve. How do they inflate the numbers? They would count the white people, they can vote, and the Black people who cannot vote. But the total number of Black people in the South would be discounted to 60%. For example, if there were 1 million Black people in the South, they would count that as 600,000 people. And this number would go into the total of white people, and then the southern states, the electoral college members number would be inflated by this number. Okay, I hope I explained it clearly. That is because the North had more votes than the South. In order to make the South happy, they agreed to let the South have more electoral vote than they deserve by the number of their white people, and inflate the number by 60% of the Black people who don't vote. Who, at that time, Black people don't vote, but each white state's population would be inflated so that they can send more people to cast a vote in the electoral college. Okay, I hope this is clear. So 12th Amendment is an amendment of electoral college system, and it was invented to inflate the southern states' electoral college members in order to make both sides happy to participate in this one thing, that is the election of the president. Of course, this thing came to pass and it's gone. No, there are no slaves in the United States anymore, but the electoral college system still remains for more than 200 years and still going on. So the reason is gone, but the system remains. Okay. And many times in the past, people, the legislators, they thought this is wrong because apparently several times more people voted for a certain candidate who ended up not being the president. So they tried to change that amendment several times. And the first time, 1969 to 1971, during that congressional term, it was the change of the law almost happened with it's very close to happening. And later on, they tried to do it again, and they were far less successful because it became very obvious that the one party who's in power got all the advantages from the election, so they are reluctant. They refuse to change the law. I personally think that it was the people who initially wrote the law, they did not have far enough vision to know that this thing will change. When things like this changes so fast, they should not write that into law because it's very hard to change a law. And later on, we had the idea of so-called sunset clause. Every time we have something written into law, we put a sunset clause in it so that, for example, it says 5-year sunset clause, which means this law is on the book only for 5 years, unless at the end of 5 years, people voted again to have this law in place. Then you can extend a number of years more. So if they had thought about the sunset clause, which was not in existence at that time, they would have put that into the law so that it would not bind future generations to a bad system. Okay, I hope I made myself clear. This is a very convoluted system. It was because there were a lot of slaves who do not cast vote in the country, and they wanted to count them in a certain way to change each state's voting power. However, now that there are no slaves, they are unable to change it back. The so-called 12th Amendment is one of the Bill of Rights amendment. After the Constitution was written and announced, people think it's not perfect, so they wrote a lot of Constitution amendment. Number one of them is freedom of speech. Number two is freedom to carry weapon, and all these things. And this is number 12. Okay, let's move on. My second change to the way of how my class today is arranged is to do the two songs first, so we have time to talk about it. The song is called Bridge Over Troubled Water, and Simon and Garfunkel with lyrics. And I'm going to stop sharing and share a different one. What happened to my, probably this one. New share, okay. I'm picking, oh, there are two of them, okay. I hope you can see this, can you? Sorry, I need to make it higher. It's not loud enough, but I think it's okay. It'll be louder later.
Joe, do you share the sound? Joe, do you share your computer sound?
什么意思？
你们听得到吗？
听得到啊，
听得到。
OK。
那
听不到，我听不到。
唱歌的声音听不到。
通通听不到。
Yeah, Joe, you.
Yeah, I tried everything. I don't know how. It's better than last time when there was no sound, but let me see.
So when you share screen and there's like 2 checks on the button. You can check share computer sound.
Well, in fact, I think it's their recording it's getting louder now. Like a bridge over troubled. Mm-hmm.
还是没有声音。
现在没有人唱歌。
现在一点声音都没有。
哦，有没有？
没听到。
没有，从头到尾没有听到任何声音。
真的？
都没有声音。还是没有声音。
Okay, Joe.
可是以前都没有这个问题耶。
Can you share again? Can you stop share and share again?
That's very strange. Okay, I look at this one, and that's the highest I could do. And I look at this one. I don't know if you can do. You can see that's my setting. That's also at 100%. So I really don't know what else I can do. If somebody could tell me.
Yeah. So can you stop sharing and share again?
Stop share.
And when you share screen, there's 2 options on the button.
Yeah, share computer sound.
Yeah, do you check share computer sound?
Oh, okay, that's good. Let me see.
Yeah, we can hear now.
Hallelujah.
Friends just can't be
remember to click on that, share computer sound. Okay, let's go back to this PowerPoint. So we had this slide, and the next one is the lyrics. There are 3 stanzas, which is the paragraphs in a song or a poem. And this is the first part, and then we have the second part and the third part. In the beginning, they only wrote 2 parts. When we say wrote, it's Paul Simon. He did all the composing the music and writing the lyrics. Of course, some other people could give some input, but he is the main person who did all the songs. However, he could only do some harmony and play the guitar. His voice is not good enough to be a solo singer. And he happens to have this classmate from childhood who is Art Garfunkel, who has a wonderful, very delicate and moving voice. He does not have to shout loud, but his voice is very touching. So he sang all the songs beautifully. And this is the first stanza or paragraph. It starts very weak. The volume is very low. It's when you're weary and feeling small. It's about a person not in a very strong position. So you are weary and feeling small, 感觉到很小, huh? When tears are in your eyes, I will dry them off. Now, the second person, who's a speaker, he steps right in. He says, 你掉眼泪的时候，我就帮你擦掉, huh? So this is a story about friendship. When your friend is in trouble, like he's in troubled water, and I, being your friend, I am a bridge over this troubled water. So when you're in trouble, I will lay me down over this troubled water as a bridge so that you can cross this bridge and go to a better place. So he says, I will dry tears for you. I'm on your side when times get rough. 这个 time 他们用一个 s 哈。In our language, we have difficulty figuring out what time to use plural. When they say times, they use a plural. Or when they say sky, they use plural. Skies, to us, it's a very strange thing, but you have to get used to it. They say times get rough, 就是时间是在一个很困难的时候. And friends just can't be found. So 你到处找都找不到朋友的时候, like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down. 这个是一整句哈，我就会躺下来，好像一个 troubled water 上面的桥一样啊。Like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down. Like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down. Twice, huh? This is the first stanza that just came out straight, that if you're in trouble, I am here for you. So it's very inspiring and very comforting. This is a wonderful song. Though it does not mention anything about religion, many people think it's a religious song because it's like God or Jesus Christ helping you as a friend. So this is the second part of the song. When you're down and out, when you're on the street, when evening falls so hard, I will comfort you. This is one sentence. When you're down and out, 我们说一个人潦倒的落在地上哈，out 就是 out of luck 了哈。When you're on the street, and you probably don't have a place to sleep. When evening falls so hard, 哈，天又要黑了，你受到种种的苦难，我就会出来救你哈，我就要 comfort you. He didn't say that I will rescue you. He just say, I will comfort you. It's not so strong, coming out so strong. He just said, I will comfort you. 我要安慰你. I will take your part when darkness comes. 就是我会，你如果做一件事情，你有你该做的事，我会帮你做这一部分。或者你在一个 group 里面，你是占其中的一部分，我会站在你这边哈。And the pain is all around. The rest is the same. Like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down. Like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down. And I was just saying previously that Paul Simon wrote this song with these 2 paragraphs, and he was very happy. He thought he's got something here that is extraordinary. However, a friend of his told him that, why don't you write the 3rd part that is even better? It'll turn your song into extraordinary. So he decided to do that. And this is the last part that he added on, not when the song first was written. He decided to add this one. This is even better than before. It says, sail on silver girl, sail on by. Here we have a parable of a sailboat, and it's a boat is a girl. All the European boats are girls, okay? So they would have, they usually carve a figure of a goddess or something at the boat, that 船头, huh? We say a boat. Let me see, I'll put it here. 一个船呢有很多部分哈。We have port side, which is the left-hand side, which is, what is the right-hand side? I forgot. Port side and it escaped me. Okay, there is one side that's the right side. So if you go on a boat and when the sailors talk or captain talk, they never say left or right. They say port side or the other one. I forgot. Okay, well, if you would wait for me, I could try to find out. Right side of boat. Starboard, okay, of course, starboard. The right-hand side of the bar of a boat is called a starboard. So if you have never heard of these 2 words, it is good if you are going to go on a cruise ship, because they are going to use these terminologies. Port side is left and starboard is on the right-hand side. And the bow is the front. I guess the bulwark. Well, let's not touch that. So a bow is the front, and usually you have a front which has 这个叫什么龙骨哈？龙骨我们叫什么东西的 ？I forgot it. It is a bow of a boat. Okay, the forward part of the hull and the ship and the point that is usually most forward. Okay, people. Okay, stern. Okay, stern is the back, rear end of the boat. Is called the stern, S-T-E-R-N. Okay, sorry about that. My poor memory. This is called the stern. So these are the parts of the boat, huh? So here we have sail on silver girl, and the girl is the boat, okay? Your time has come to shine. All your dreams are on their way. See how they shine, oh, if you need a friend. So silver girl here is you. You are sailing on the boat, even though you are a man. you are sailing on a boat and the silver girl represents you. And you should just sail on, 顺利的往前航行 You have nothing to worry about. It's time for you to shine. 就是现在是让你发挥你的光辉的时候。All your dreams are on their way. 你所有的梦想都已经上路了 See how they shine. And if you need a friend, I'm sailing right behind. 那我呢，既然你现在已经上路了，我就不在那里拉你或者安慰你了。我呢，就是 sailing right behind if you need me. Like a bridge over troubled water, I will ease your mind. I will ease your mind, okay? And there's the bow stern, port side, and the starboard are the parts of the boat. I can repeat that part. Bow is the front and the stern is the back. Port side is left and starboard is right. Okay, so we quickly went through this song without going deep into what these two people are. They were like middle school classmates, and they maintained their friendship, and then they started to have a 2-member band. The two of them sing together. It's a duet. Duet 就是 D-U. Okay, I have no room to put place. D-U-E-T 是个 duet 就是两个人合唱的意思。Now we come to this one, which is 送杜少府之任蜀州. So this person's last name is Du, and his official position is 少府. And he was assigned to 蜀州，就是四川了哈。Either he was assigned in the high position or he was demoted to 蜀州. It's possible he was demoted or banished or exiled. So on his way out to go to his new position, his good friend Wang Bo, who wrote this poem to send him off. 我们看过很多的送别的诗，都是 you go out of the city wall with your friend and then you see him off. See off 就是送别的意思哈。And most of the time you go to 长亭外古道边 and you stop there. And you no longer follow him because he is going away and you are not. So this is what he wrote. Wang Bo wrote when he was at this moment seeing his friend Du Shaofu off to his new position in Suzhou. And where are they? They're in Chang'an, that is the capital of Tang. Wang Bo is one of the 4 poets of early Tang. So it was way before Tang Xuanzong or Yang Guifei. His time was probably, the latest would be Wu Zetian. That's still before Gaozong, Xuanzong, etc. So their capital is in Chang'an. And this poem goes like this: 城阙辅三秦，烽烟望五津. First thing he said is, we are here outside the city wall of Chang'an, and we could see the city so majestically. Huge city wall with also corner, how do you say that? It's a castellet. So it's a 我们叫做角楼哈，它有这个3个城阙，城阙就是这个 city wall 的 corner 的这些 towers. Okay, the towers. We look at the towers of this grand capital, and they protect or they overlook the 3 states of Qin. There was once some nobleman, he had probably 3 sons, and they were stationed in 3 parts of Qin. So this 3 parts of Qin is called 3 Qin. And these 3 Qin surround the city of Chang'an, 所以他说城阙辅3秦，烽烟望五津。这五津呢是说这条河上面有 5 ferry docks 这个叫做津我们叫做ford F-O-R-D 呢是这个过这个水从这个水里面，或者是走过去，或者是坐船过去，那这个渡口呢就叫做津我们叫做a harbor or a smaller harbor is called a dock D-O-C-K. Let me put it here. Dock or docks 这个是一个码头我们如果去钓鱼或者抓螃蟹without going onto a boat, we would go to the docks with our traps to be lowered below in order to catch crab. And Wang Bo, he could envision that far away there are 5 small ferry stops on the river. And on a misty day with a feng and yan, windy day with smoke or steam or cloud or whatever. In our Chinese poems, we often say yan, which is not smoke. It could be cloud or mist, such things. 与君离别意，同是宦游人 Now today I'm here to see you off, and my heart is filled with sorrow because of this parting sadness in my heart. And we are both 宦游人 宦是做官的意思。所谓宦游人呢we were at the mercy of the emperor if he decided to send you off, especially to demote you. We learned this word called demote, 就是把你贬官 Then you have to travel. You cannot say that, oh, I am putting a mortgage on the house in the capital, I'm not going. No, that's an option. It's not an option. So we are all officials that would have to pick up things and leave if the emperor tells us to do so. So it is said that you have to leave, but that's the way life is. The most famous 2 lines are right here, highlighted in red. 海内存知己，天涯若比邻. Even though you're far away, I will not see you, maybe never, or I will not see you for a long time. I know you are there. Even if I don't see you, I know you are my bosom buddies. 就是 you know me so well, and I call you a 知己。知己是就是朋友的意思因为你知道我，所以说 I will know that wherever you are, even though I cannot see you, there is someone who knows me so well there for me. These 2 lines are here for me to pick this poem to match it with the previous song of Simon and Garfunkel, A Bridge Over Troubled Water. Even though we are going to leave today, you are going to leave me today, I know that you are somewhere far away who knows me so well and who is a great friend of mine. So even though we're far away from each other, which is where 天涯 comes from, we are far away from each other, but in our heart, it's just like you are right next to me. Even though we're so far away, our hearts are together. It's as if you are right here with me. These are such wonderful lines. And the last 2 lines are a little more difficult. That's why I put down some annotation here. Annotation is what I talked about last time, 就是加注解的意思 无为在其路，就是说don't follow those people when they say goodbye. They stop seeing people off at the 歧路哈，歧路就是 the road diverge into two 哈。Here we have a diverge 哈。diverge 就是一条路分成两条，叫做 diverge. 所以 if we are traveling on this road and at this point we diverge, you take this or I take that. Another way to say diverge 就是离题了，就是说 I was talking about this thing and then I diverged. I went on a branch of the road that I did not intend to go to. That's called diverge 哈。古人送行常在大路分岔处告别哈。这里是说不要像别人那样在这个split or when the road becomes a Y 哈。In English we say a Y， 就是说一个路 diverge， 我们叫做 you come to a Y 哈。We don't just say goodbye because you will always be in my heart, even though we say goodbye. 儿女共沾巾 it is tricky here because it says 儿女，就是说 you and I are like young boy and girl. We just cry and cry and made our towel or handkerchief wet. So we're crying like young kids, or maybe two romantically involved people, a man and a woman, or a boy and a girl. So we cry and we wet our handkerchief. 我们说 handkerchief 就是一个手帕的意思。handkerchief 这个是个手帕哈。那这个 kerchief 呢，而没有 hand 呢，也可以是一个小的围巾哈，布做的或者是丝做的，叫做 kerchief。如果是毛做的话 ，then it's probably called a scarf 哈。And if it's even bigger, it's called a shawl. Yeah. So these are all the accessories that you could carry to put on your head or shoulder. So this is a very moving poem. They say one of the very best 送别诗 and the Wang Bo is died at age 26, so it's an amazing person with a very short life. Here is a statue of him, which of course we don't know what he looks like. This is just an artist rendition. They made it up, And this is a statue of Wang Bo, which is located near Tengwangge, Tengwangge, I believe, is in Jiujiang, 就是江西省的九江. When they built Tengwangge, they had a big party with all these people writing poems to praise how wonderful this building is. And Wang Bo, he was probably 19 years old. He was there in the party, and he started to write a poem when the host just ignored him, because what can a 19-year-old boy say? He just let Wang Bo in the corner to write his poem while he talked to others. And people would show him what Wang Bo wrote. And wow, he was impressed by this wonderful poem until he saw 落下雨，孤鹜齐飞，秋水共长天一色. At that point, he stood up and walked to Wang Bo and invited him to join the crowd, because this is just too great a poem to be ignored. This is Wang Bo's most important writing, which is called the Tengwangge Xu. 滕王阁序 is not the poem itself. It is a preface, 一个 forward to 滕王阁的这个诗哈。Of course, after that 序 follow the body of the poem, but this most important 2 lines, as I mentioned, 落霞与孤鹜齐飞，秋水共长天一色, was part of the preface or forward. Let me put this down. Preface 就是一首诗的序或者一本书的序哈。Preface or called the foreword 哈，前言的意思哈。And he died at age 26. He was a brilliant poet, and he was considered one of 初唐四杰哈。There's 初盛中晚 4 periods in Tang Dynasty when poetry was the best thing ever in China, Chinese literature. And the 4 people in the early period of Tang Dynasty, they are Wang Bo, Yang Jiong, Lu Zhaolin, Luo Bingwang. Even though Wang Bo was very young when he died, he was ranked first among the Chu Tang Si Jie. And the rest of them lived much longer than he did. I thought about Wu Zetian because Luo Bingwang was a poet who was imprisoned by Wu Zetian when he did not become a sycophant. Last time I gave you the word sycophant. At that time, I pronounced it as sycophant. That is by the pronunciation rules. It looks like a sycophant, but then I checked and the dictionary says it should be pronounced a sycophant. So a sycophant 就是一个人他是阿谀他的老板或者他的皇帝或者是他上面的人哈，上面人说什么他就说对对对对对对 or he would go out and carry out this order even though it was so wrong ha. And this word comes into play right now because we see lots of sycophant of Trump everywhere we turn. Even though they hated Trump in the beginning or said nasty things about Trump, after Trump became president, they become sycophant. They are carrying out all the things he ordered, and they are praising him as a wonderful person. And they are what in Chinese called 阿谀的人哈. This is just horrible. Anyway, Wang Bo 出身世家哈. He came from a rich and highly respected family. He could write poetry when he was very, very young, probably 4 years old. People think he is a child prodigy. Child prodigy 就是神童哈。Child prodigy, prodigy 当然就是说是一个很神的人了，可是 child 就是童了，所以就是child prodigy. The next dot says 王勃写文章哈。This part was written by Yang Jiong who is one of the 4 people 初唐四杰. He wrote a sort of a biography of Wang Bo. In this he said these words. 他说 when Wang Bo was going to write something down, he would first prepare the ink, many liters of ink. That's a lot of more to prepare. Here we have 文房四宝. We have paper. What do we have? Ink. Inkstone. And brush, of course, brush should come first. Brush. Okay. Brush 是笔哈，纸笔哈。We have 纸笔墨砚哈，所以这 inkstone 就是砚台的意思哈。那 ink 呢就是 墨水了哈，纸笔墨砚哈。So when you say Chinese calligraphy, we use a brush and we use ink and we have special paper, which is 宣纸 and we have an inkstone, which is a work of art by itself. And each of these four things is the product of a particular place in China that produce the best of such an item, okay? So we come back to Yang Jiong, who said, 王勃写文章的时候，先磨墨数升哈。A sheng is like a liter, so he would prepare a lot of ink. And then he would drink until he was drunk. And then he would lie down to take a nap because he was out of it, okay? And he would pull the cover, usually a comforter or a quilt, and he would pull it over his head and sleep. And when he woke up, he was sober. Here we have a word called sober. Sober is an extremely important word in the Western culture because we hardly identify a person as being 酒醉 to the extent that they were addicted to drinking, but they identified the drinking as a problem quite early on. So the word sober is very important. A person who is drunk all the time is an alcoholic. Alcoholic. An am I right? Maybe. I'm gone. Yeah, it should be an O. At first I thought it was an O. Alcoholic 就是一个酗酒的人，那他就是因为 addicted to drinking， 他是不能避免，因为他就是上瘾了，必须要喝酒哈。In our culture, we think a poet 喝酒 is a natural thing and it's good because he's so 潇洒 and he could write better and things like that. However, in the Western culture, they identify that as a disease and a problem in the person's behavior. That's why being sober here, sober, this word is important because it shows that you have control of yourself, your own behavior, and you are clear-headed, not always muddled. So Yang Jiong said that when Wang Bo was out of he became sober, okay? He would then pick up the brush and write something, a long article or essay or a poem or whatever he wrote, and he would not change one word of it. That's how genius he was. So people at the time said that he has the draft in his belly. 就是说 it's not that he wrote something and think about it and then figure out what to write in one word and erase something or something. He has the sketch, entire sketch in his belly already. 这个叫做有腹稿. Okay. And he is very proud and arrogant. Here we have the word arrogant, which is arrogant, 就是很骄傲的意思哈。Now, is that a good word? Yeah, there are two R's. Okay. Thank you. How do I live without autocorrect? Then he was very young. He was in a high position. However, he has a slave or servant in his home who committed a crime, whose name is Cao Da, and someone else reported this to the authority. When we say the police or a judge, we can use the word authority. So somebody notified the authority that he is harboring a criminal in his home. And he heard about it, and he secretly killed Cao Da in order that people will not catch him doing the harboring. What we say harbor. Harbor 是一个 一个港口 So if you harbor someone, use it as a verb, you are hiding this thing and protecting this person. So he killed this person that he harbored illegally. So the thing was found out by the authority. He and Wang Bo, he and his father were all implicated. So he was arrested and sentenced to death. And his father, who also took part in this crime, was banished or in exile or as a low-level official sent to Jiaozhi 县做县令 Jiaozhi 在 Vietnam, so it's very, very remote, far from China. And his father became a mayor or a magistrate. Mayor 是一个市长 Mayor or a magistrate. It's the name of a mayor, a leader, administrative leader of a town or a city, but because we don't have the division of powers, 3 division of powers, we don't have 立法司法还有什么 legislature in the American system you have legislature 就是立法院或者立法的员委员 and the administrator executive branch and the 司法就是 judiciary branch. So a government, there are 3 parts, they are independent and there's check or balance between them. However, in China, we traditionally have a magistrate who is a mayor and also the judge, like Bao Gong. He was the mayor of a certain county, and he would also be the judge in the court, in the city municipal court. He is a judge. So we would translate the word 尹就是市长 translate into a mayor. Well, it can also be translated into magistrate, which is more of the judiciary. 就是司法上面的一个官 So there was an amnesty. I think we mentioned this word before, amnesty 就是一个大赦 When there is an amnesty, usually because an emperor died and the new emperor became a new emperor, and he would issue an amnesty, 就是所有监牢的人通通都放出来 and Wang Bo was waiting for execution at that time, and he was released because of amnesty. And he would want to go to see his father, who's far away in Vietnam. So he took the ferry boat from Guangdong, and he went to see his father, and the next year he came back to Guangdong. And on the way back, while in the ferry boat, he was drowned and he died. That's why at that young age, he died very tragically. This part is to say that Wang Bo, even though he was very young, he took it upon himself to have this idea that if you are a good gentleman, you should do things according to what's good for people, for humanity, for the country, for the larger society, instead of doing being a sycophant, praising the emperor or saying how great the emperor was, and not to mention your principle, your philosophy. He thinks that a person of literature should use his writing to promote the philosophy of being a good person, to influence the general population to do good instead of to always praise the emperor. So he was a good force in the early Tang Dynasty culture. Okay, this I'm not going to go through. His most famous quotes, let me say quotes. There are 3 famous quotes from him. 海内存知己，天涯若比邻。落霞与孤鹜齐飞，秋水共长天一色。This last one is also from 滕王阁序。关山难越，谁悲失路之人？萍水相逢，尽是他乡之客。He's a wonderful person, I would say, but he was too smart, so he was kind of arrogant. Now let's go back to vocabulary from last week. First, we talk about the first 3 things. Dogma is the rule, fast and hard rule of a religion or philosophy that does not allow people to discuss or criticize. 所以这个叫做教条，是不能折曲的。所以你如果信这个教，你就必须要 follow 这个 even though it's not reasonable or it's already needs updating. So this word can be changed into dogmatic, which is an adjective, or dogmatism, which is a noun. The next word is pejorative. It is to describe dogma. The word dogma has a pejorative meaning. Just when you say something that is a dogma, 你认为这个东西是个不好的东西，而不是一个很好的东西。So it has a negative meaning. 所以叫做贬义或者是负面的。Then we talk about the volcano eruption. Eruption is usually used for volcanic eruption. Volcanic, when you are using this to describe eruption, you would say volcanic, N-I-C. And the word explosion usually is not used here. And then we come to the next few ones that require some more references or pictures to show you. One is the triumvirate. This is called the 三雄. That is in the government or in the regime. There are 3 big bosses. Together, they make big decisions and other people must follow them or defer to them, to listen to them, and so on and so forth. And there were such kind of 三雄 in the past, but the most famous would be the 前三雄 and 后三雄, right around the Roman Republic and the Empire. The 前三雄 we have was when Roman was a republic. 它还是共和国的时候。The 3 people are Pompey, Crassus, and Caesar. Here we have Pompey, who is a big general, as big as Julius Caesar. And Caesar is usually pronounced Kaiser at that time. That's why他说是凯撒大帝, even though right now in English we say Caesar. And the Crassus is probably one you have not heard or you've forgotten. He is the most wealthiest person in the world at that time. That time is about 50 years before Christ. So these 3 persons, all these people are senators in the Roman government. So Crassus was the wealthiest person, and recently, in the past 10 or 20 years, people have been comparing Bill Gates and who's that guy? Jeff Bezos. Huh? We say he was as rich or even richer than Crassus. If you have seen the movie Spartacus, 我们翻译作万夫莫敌 with Kirk Douglas as the slave leader, Spartacus. In that movie, Laurence Olivier, a very rich person, he plays Crassus. Later on, he had a slave who was played by, what's his name? Tony Curtis. So you can, if you have the opportunity to see that movie, which I watched again recently, as I borrowed from library. This is a person called the Spartacus. That's the name of the movie. And it is famous in one particular way. The script was written by Dalton Trumbull. He was a person who was blacklisted. At that time, for many years, all the scripts that he wrote would be banned. They would not allow him to have his script made into movies. And he wrote Roman Holiday. 我们都知道罗马假期 was a wonderful movie that he wrote. But if you see the first version, his name was not there. Later, they put his name as a playwright, but at that time, he was not named. And Spartacus was the first play that he wrote that bears his name. That's because this movie was made by Kirk Douglas, even though he was an actor who produced this movie. He invited Dalton Trumbull to write that script, and he insisted that he should put the name on the movie. That's how he broke the blacklist rule at the time, which is a very important thing for the history of Hollywood. Then we talk about 后三雄. They are Octavius. Octavius is also called Caesar Augustus. 当他继承这个 Caesar 以后, the Roman Empire no longer was a republic. So it's an empire, and he became the Caesar or Kaiser of the Roman Empire. And he chose the name Augustus or Augustus. That means great, great, great. 就是说奥古斯都大帝. This is not his name, but he chose this name to show people how great he was. And Octavius, was one of the 后三雄, along with Antony and Lepidus. So these are the 后三雄. That is because Julius Caesar was assassinated by a group of people, including Octavius and Antony and Brutus. I mentioned Brutus before. Brutus was the one who used the dagger to stab Caesar because he hates Caesar for abandoning the republic and made him into Caesar self-claimed to be the emperor. He brought the country to an empire instead of republic. So after he was killed, all these other people, Octavius and Antony and so on, they wanted to be dictator. They are not idealistic. They are not like Brutus. Here I have Brutus. Brutus. He was idealistic senator who killed Caesar in order the country would not become an empire. However, he was not a strong military leader, while Octavius and Antony were. They have huge army behind them or under them. That's why they became 后三雄 and they took Roman into an empire. In Russia, this word triumvirate, you look at this word triumph, that's a word from Sanha, the T-R-I is a prefix for Sanha. For example, there is a god called Neptune. 是一个海神哈。And how do you know a god is 海神? He would carry a weapon, 一个长的枪哈，一个长的棍子，上面有，Can you see me? He carries with him a trident 哈，一个三叉的枪，那个人就是海神哈。You can go to, for example, you go to Plaza Navona in Rome. There is a big sculpture with a 海神 on it, and this 海神 is carrying a trident. I want to write trident here. This is how you have trident, T-R-I-D-E-N-T. That is D-E-N-T. That is a 长枪上面有三个头的，所以叫做三叉枪。You can also see Neptune, the sculpture of Neptune in Plaza Signora, yeah, Plaza Signora, 就是在 Florence 的一个广场上也有一个 trident, 跟一个 Neptune 的雕像哈。那时候他们是相当可以崇拜所有希腊的神。That's why you can see under Catholic Church statues of many Greek gods. They thought they were acceptable to worship under Catholic Church. So you have all these things. Here I was talking about troika. When there are three very strong leaders that handles or controls the government, it's called a troika. A troika is a carriage with three horses. 就是说三头马的车。We have 马车 that you can have one horse, two horses, three horses, 4 or 6 or 8 or even 10. There are specific words for all these kinds of 马车 carriages. Let me put the word carriage here. That is a 马车 Yeah, that's carriage. Okay. Then we talk about CE. I'll just go briefly. There are CE, AD, BC, and BCE. CE is common era, 就是公元的意思。AD 呢，跟公元是一样的意思，叫做 Anno Domini. Anno 是年year， 像我们说 annual 什么东西，就是从这个 anno 来的。Domini 就是 My Lord, the great Christ the Lord 就是说我主基督的意思Anno Domini 就是主后第一年In the year of the Lord 就是我们中文叫做主后简写就是 AD。 那 BC 就是 Before Christ， 那在 AD 以前就是倒数一年一年越数越多，那是越数越离我们远那 BCE 呢就是 Before Common Era. In the past, we only say AD and BC for years and years. And later they decided maybe Christianity is not the only religion in the world. For those people who are not Christians, they would not like the years to be named AD or BC. So they invented the new word CE and BCE. And nowadays it is more common to see CE and BCE instead of AD and BC. Here I have the word alien. Alien we know is 外星人 On the other hand, probably all of us was once an alien. 就是说我们是一个United States 看起来是一个外国来的人When we got our PR, which is a permanent residence card, we have a number. Our alien number is starts with the letter A, which means alien this number. So if you have a number that is on your car, which is A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever digits, that's called your alien card. So alien is something from outside the normal realm. However, we can also use it as a verb to alienate, 就是把这个人或者这个东西看作是外来的，就是把它分开了哈。然后这个字再往前再往后 we have the word unalienable rights 哈。这个你的人权 your human right was God given 哈。It was given to you by God, or naturally given if you don't believe in that God. So our human right is not because the government out of their kindness give you that right. It is when you're born, you came with that right, and that right is unalienable. 就是no one else, not your priest, not your emperor, not anyone else can unalienate you from your rights. 所以这个字呢，虽然不是很常用we rarely use this when you talk about things, but you have to know this word because it is in our Declaration of Independence. On July 4th, 1776, United States declared independence from British Empire. I was counting. The British Empire started in 1707, so that's after it became British Empire. In short, British Empire is England, Scotland, Wales, and Ireland. They all combined together to become one empire called the British Empire. And before that, we had only the English government. So when America declared independence, there is the first paragraph, which is all that's under here. I have a picture, this one. Declaration of Independence, a transcription. Transcription 就是 word for word 把它写下来的意思。And this is the entire Declaration of Independence. Even though it's pretty long, it's not too long compared to the function, how it's used to declare independence. And in this thing, there is a first paragraph from this word to here. This paragraph is my previous slide. So we're going back to that slide to tell you what's in this Declaration of Independence. It says, from this red letter, we hold this truth to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. 这就是开宗明义，他说 we are declaring something here. We think these things are truths to be, they are self-evident, 就是说都不必解释，就是真理的。The following 3 lines are what we consider to be truths that are self-evident. What are these things? There are 3 lines. All men are created equal. 所有的人都是天生平等的。There is no king who is over us because we are all equal. And the second line is they are endowed. We're talking about all men. They are endowed. 这个 endowed 就是被赐予的意思。我们在生下来的时候，这个我们的 creator, it didn't say God, it says our creator, 就是创造我们的这个 whatever it was. Whatever you believe in, there was a creator who created us. When they created us, we came with these rights, 我们就有这些权利，而这些权利是 unalienable 的，就是谁也没有办法把这些权利从我们的身上拿走的啊。这个是 we hold this to be self-evident 啊。And the third thing is among these, 就是 what are these rights? These are right, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is wonderful piece of work. They say Thomas Jefferson wrote this, and he opens up with that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights. And among these rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And then came the next 2 points, which is also all these parts below is also part of the first paragraph. It started with we and ended with more of this. Okay, so why we're declaring independence, it's because we held these to be truth, and in order for these to be truth, then we have all these rights that were given to us by our creator, and the government is there to secure us these rights. They did not give us these rights, but they're there to protect us so that we can have our God-given rights, okay? And the next one is whenever a government is trying to destroy this, to take away from us all these rights, then we have the power to throw them out, okay? So these are the goal of our having all these rights. We have these rights, and the government should protect us to have these rights. And if the government did not do it, we have the right to throw the government out, no matter what king, what clergyman, whoever it was, they have no right to take our rights away. Okay, so this is 开宗明义的美国独立宣言哈。So you can see that this is an article that's pretty long. Well, we have this part that we just read in the beginning. It says, we all agree we have these rights, and if the government is not protecting us, is taking the rights away from us, then we can throw it away. And all these below, starting from this red line, is about our king, King George III, who is on the throne in Britain now. He has done this, and all these, you can see this is a he, all the way down to here. These are what King George III is doing to us all. That's why we are throwing him out. We don't want this king. We want to be independent. This is a beautiful article. He says we think we have the right, and the government is here for us to protect us the right. And when this King George did all these things, it is right for us to throw him out, okay? This is so beautiful, huh? French Enlightenment writers included, I said many times, there's Rousseau and Montesquieu, huh? There are 2 French writers or philosophers. Montesquieu is about 32 years older than Rousseau. So Montesquieu was the person who single-handedly promoted this so-called the human rights, that people have rights that are unalienable. And the government is there only because people allowed the government to exist. If the people do not allow the king to do that, then they can throw the king out. It has been centuries and centuries that all the rulers always say that their ruling power came from God. It's God gave them this right to rule the people. But these French Enlightenment writers, they declare that no, the king and the rulers are there only because the people let them be there. If the people decided not to let them be there, then the people can throw them out. So Rousseau, who came after Montesquieu, he, I said he was about 30 years, 10, 20, okay, 20, 23 years younger. He wrote the book called The Social Contract. 我们把它翻译成民约论或者叫社约论。It means that a ruler can rule the people only because he abide by the contract between the ruler and the people. If he breaks the contract, then he broke the contract. He is no longer the ruler. He has to be changed. Okay, that's what United States, the philosophy of the republic comes from these two people who changed the whole world. Okay, so we're looking at 罗马斗兽场. So I finished with that, which is a very important part of it. But I have to go quickly because I don't know if Jerry can tell us that there will be a class next to mine. He set 4 o'clock to be set aside for fitness, enhanced fitness.
Oh, it's fine. We don't use the Zoom. You can keep going.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you very much. I thought I had to vacate before 4 o'clock. Okay, so let's talk about Colosseum. Now in English we call it Colosseum, but in the old days we call it Colosseum. That was not really English. The word Colosseum or colossal, 这个就是很大的意思. When they build this stadium, which is the Colosseum, they call it a Colosseum because it's so huge. It's a huge theater with tens of thousands of seats where people would come to see a concert, a play, or whatever. But in Roman Empire, people go there to see gladiators to be killed by animals. Here we have gladiator. Okay, is that a word? Okay, it is correct. A gladiator 是一个斗兽的一个勇士. We have seen Gladiator, a movie that's played by Russell Crowe. He plays a gladiator. Even though they're considered slaves, they were just warriors or regular people from a foreign country that Roman Empire conquered. So Russell Crowe is perfectly a white male, but he was a slave. And he became a gladiator in order to survive. How to survive is to go there to fight the ferocious animals or to fight other gladiators, and those who are killed are killed, and this gladiator would survive. This is called the Colosseum. And if you go to Rome, you have to go to this place that is called the Colosseum. This is the outside of Colosseum, how we say. It's an exterior, 就是外观, And if you go in, you see the interior of the Colosseum. So it is full of steps and seats. Of course, those parts that were made of wood have rotted away after 2,000 years, but you can see it was in the form of a theater or a stadium. The idea of a stadium 就是一个运动的场所，可是是一个 building. So we have the stadium or a Colosseum. besides missing the wooden chairs or benches or bleachers, how we call it, a stadium, 是一个体育场哈，像我们小时候的三军球场。And the benches 是那些座位哈 but in the stadium they are called the bleachers, B-L-E-A-C-H-E-R 哈。Because they are not as individually, you don't put a bleacher in your home. You put a chair or a sofa, but in the stadium, people sit around it in rows, and these are called bleachers. And at the bottom of it, you see a large round area, which is called the arena. Arena, I explained last time, arena means a field of sand, because originally the bottom of the stadium is covered with wood, and on top of it, people spread sand on it. That's why it's called arena. You spread sand on it so that when people kill each other or kill an animal or lion or the tigers or bear or whatever, the blood would be soaked up by the sand. That's why this is called an arena. You know the movie star called Charlton Heston, when he was going to write a memoir, which is the word I mentioned last time, memoir. It's a French word. That's why the O-R is pronounced as a war. So it's called memoir. When Charlton Heston was going to write a memoir, he solicited people's idea of what it should be called. 他宣布说, give me a suggestion for the title of my memoir. And eventually somebody suggested it, and he happily picked. It's called In the Arena. That is the title of his autobiography, because he always plays the hero in the big budget movies, and his life is in the arena. Okay. And then we go down the list to canonization, which is to declare somebody a saint in Catholic Church. And the process before that, a lighter qualification is beatification. You have to be reviewed and approved and have one afterlife miracle. Afterlife is called the posthumous. 就是死了以后 post 是以后的意思 posthumous miracle 一个奇迹 nowadays it's usually cured a person of a fatal disease like cancer those people who performed a miracle after they died, that is someone else praying to their shrine and miraculously was cured. These people are beatified, and they have two miracles. They can be canonized and become a saint. A saint is a word that I use at the very last minute when Shu Hua said something and I could hardly hear her. That's because the voice is very faint. I don't know why at that time it was so. But faint, we usually say 昏倒. For example, when we were in school, there's always 周会 people would stand there in the sun and some of them would faint 就是人事不知的倒在地上，这个叫 faint。 那如果说这个声音或者这个图不清楚的话 we call it faint. Your voice is very faint. That's how you say it. And the posthumous and the miracle and annotation, these I explain them all. Then we follow up to the word sycophant. I just mentioned that it's pronounced sycophant. It is 阿谀者或者拍马屁的人, and that pronunciation I is for this Y, sycophant. And there are similar words like ass kisser, 就是 kiss 一个老板的屁股，这叫做 ass kisser. Lackey 就是专门去保护这个老板的这个 his territory or his project or whatever. You are one of the people who supported the boss and help him to succeed. And a similar word is called the minion. Right now we have a popular cartoon, a Disney movie called the Minion. It's because of these all group of funny people with a rounded head and one eye in the middle or things like that. They are called the minions. And minion is like a lackey. And the back scratcher is to scratch someone's back. 一个人他自己抓不到他的背, so you have a back scratcher who graciously scrape your back because they want a favor from you. So it's a back scratcher. Or a boot licker, that is, you have boots and this person licks your boot. The person not only clean your boots, he would bend himself over and lick your boots. So it is really a sycophant. And or a yes man. A yes man just follows this boss, everything what the boss says, he says yes, 这叫做 yes man. A parasite 就是一个寄生虫 and a hanger on 就是说 you hang around this boss so that whatever is needed, you would be there to help him to succeed. All these words are similar or synonym. 我们说 synonym, I think it's spelled this way. 就是同义字的意思 So we have 同义字, but sycophant is a much better word for the sum of occasions than all these, because it's not just kiss your ass. It's not just to a parasite or a boot licker. He would not only praise you and hold you up, and he would protect you to make sure that nobody else could criticize you or be against you. This is a very important way nowadays. It used to be that this word was never used in the American world, but now we use it all the time because there's so many of them around. Okay, the next word is venue. Venue, there are two meanings who are similar. One is a place where something happens. Usually it's an organized event, such as sports event or concert or conference. Then this place that it took place is called venue. Another meaning is in law. You have something happen and there was going to be a trial, and there would be a courtroom chosen with the judge and the jury and the lawyers all to attend this event, which is a judiciary process. And you need to pick a place. Sometimes they feel that the place is not good as a venue for this the court procedure, because the people around this area are probably opinionated, or they're partial to one side or another. So they have a change of venue. 就是说本来要在这个地方举行的一个审判 for various reasons, they decided to change this event location to a different venue. That's the meaning of venue. And then we have 英国国教, which is Anglican Church. It is one of the protest churches. When we had Martin Luther of Germany, who decided to raise an issue with the church, with Vatican, with Pope or the Catholic Church, a huge thing broke up, which is called the religious reformation, 就是宗教改革 And for Martin Luther, he started in 1517, I believe it was 1517. Yeah, okay. In 1517, Martin Luther started the process of Reformation, and eventually he was determined to be a heretic, 就是一个异教徒哈, and the church wanted to kill him, and he had to escape and camp. I mean, he has to go into hiding, and he went to wrote the German translation of Bible. These are the things he did, and he achieved the unthinkable, which is to reform the church. That's why there is a whole branch of Catholic Church that bolted from the church. 所谓 bolt 是一种快跑的意思。有一个Olympian athlete called Usain Bolt. He's the fastest man in the world. He was consecutively in 2 Olympic Games. He was the winner of many medals, and his last name happened to be Bolt, which is just perfect for a long distance runner or short distance runner. He won the gold medal for 100 meters and 200 meters, and in the relay of 400 meters, and so on and so forth. So Bolt is to rush out of gates and to leave, in this case, to bolt from the Catholic Church and to establish the Reformed Church, which is called the Lutheran Church. 就是马丁路德 Church. And while in England, they have their own church called the Anglican Church. Oh my God, it's late. Okay, but we can go on a little bit, but I want to be fast. Okay, so we can go faster. So before Anglican Church, the entire church system in many countries followed the church in Rome. But then after the Reformation, they became different branches. Of these branches or denominations, the largest of the Protestant church is Anglican Church. 所以它叫做 the third largest Christian communion in the world after Roman Catholic Church and the Eastern Orthodox Church. 所以除了罗马的公教就是天主教以外，还有第二就是Eastern Orthodox 就是东正教哈，这两个是世界最大的 Christian community, and the third one is Anglican Church, and it's because of English King Henry VIII. He wanted to divorce his wife, who was blessed by the Catholic Church, so he had to bolt the church system and establish his own church. And when he died, this new church was not really established. And there were a few kings and queens after him. They only were monarchs for a very short time until his daughter, Queen Elizabeth I, became the queen. And the English church was established during the second year of Queen Elizabeth's rule. Reign, reign 就是 REIGN 就是她的统治是这个 Queen Elizabeth I. And they do not follow the Roman Pope, Catholic Pope. They have their own Archbishop of Canterbury, who is the leader of the Church of England. So in the beginning, in England, the church was St. Augustine's church. He was sent by the Roman Pope on the mission to England. And for 1400 years, English church was part of the Catholic Church and listening to the Pope in Rome. However, since the Reformation, they have their own Bishop of Canterbury, who is the leader of Anglican Church. Okay, these I covered pretty much. And this is a cathedral, Canterbury Cathedral, This is a big church. And why is this church the main church of Anglican Church instead of any other church in London, when this city is so far away from London? That's because England was a tiny little country. They're nothing compared to Europe, which has a long history. So their churches came from Rome, and everything else came from Europe. So the first point where these people landed is Canterbury. So Canterbury became the leading place where they have this church, and the Bishop of Canterbury is stationed there, which is quite some ways from London. And in London, you had this Westminster Church. Westminster Abbey in London was the church in London, but since 1560, the building is no longer a cathedral, which means that the station of the bishop, archbishop, was changed in that year from London to Canterbury. Okay, and this is 1 year after Queen Elizabeth reached the settlement with the Roman Catholic Church and legally separated from the Roman Catholic Church. And these, in our language, in Chinese, we call Protestantism 新教或者基督教, but in English, you would call it Protestantism. 这些都是新教的意思，而是我们中文的基督教。And these are the denominations of 新教. We don't have to go through that, but we knew already that Anglican Church is the largest of all these branches. And the word denomination means 不同的教派, whether it's a Christian denomination, Jewish, Islamic, Hindu, or Buddhism. It's different branches of a certain religion. And this word denomination also apply to denomination in currency. 你的钞票有100元钞、10元钞，有1块钱的 coin, and so on and so forth. All these are called the denomination of the currency. Every time you go to a different country, when you travel, you would be better to get acquainted with all the money, different money, so that you know what you're doing. And another denomination is postage stamp. Postage stamps would have naturally first class mail. Right now, I think it's 50 cents. It used to be 3 cents, 4 cents, 5 cents, and so on. So that's a denomination of a postage stamp. If you want to write a letter to Taiwan, to China, or to whatever, you had to pay more than $1. And that is one stamp instead of many stamps. So that's a denomination of the stamp. And here we have the word coronation. I'd like to show you some beautiful pictures of David. Here is his name, David, D-A-V-I-D, because he's French. So you say his name not as David, but as David. And that last D you hardly speak up. So it's David. And I described to you this beautiful painting last time, what it looks like. It is here we have Napoleon Bonaparte. He stood there with a crown in his hand, while Pope Leo, I think it's Leo VII, he sat there. And before this coronation, which is the 加冕礼, Napoleon told the Pope that here, you are here to crown me, but I am not going to let you crown me. I will grab the crown and put it on my head. And Pope Leo was agreeable. He agreed, you can do that. Okay, I'm here to watch. So Napoleon crowned himself, and then he put this crown on his wife, who is Josephine. Here's Josephine, a beautiful, a tiny lady. When I went to Malmaison and we saw a display of his 绣花鞋, her embroidered shoes, they are just about this big, 3寸金莲. I don't know how she did it. Very, very tiny feet. However, Napoleon divorced her Well, he had the first wife, and Josephine was the second wife, and later she failed to produce an heir. Heir 就是一个传宗接代的人哈。Heir. When she failed to produce an heir, she was divorced by. Okay, so we have this coronation, and the painter's name is Jacques Louis David. So he has two first names with a hyphen in between. And today we're going to see many French people with this kind of names. Two words which are very common with a hyphen in between to form the first name. He was born in 1748, so it's quite some ways from French Revolution, which took place in 1789, but he lived through it and died in 1825. He had a relatively long life, and so you can tell that before the revolution, he made regular paintings of the wealthy people and so on and so forth. But after the revolution, he made huge, beautiful pictures, political pictures, paintings that he did. This is his self-portrait, so we know what he looks like. And if you're in Musée du Louvre, 就是罗浮宫, this in 2017, I took this picture, which is not a very clear picture because I moved it. It was not focused well. However, in this gallery, you can see pictures large and small. And this one is the one we just saw. It has Napoleon crowning Josephine. You can imagine how high and how wide this picture is. It's a huge picture, very impressive. And this room is entirely of this one painter. He made many, many paintings, and most of them are very, very famous. This is a portrait of Napoleon crossing the Alps. France invaded Italy when he crosses. He brought the army across the Alps. 就是阿尔卑斯山. This is a very, very, very complimentary, very good. I would say this painter is a sycophant. He just put the best light on this leader. He's a big fan of Napoleon. And he also witnessed something, so he did this sketch, which is not a full painting. It's called the Tennis Court Oath. When the French had a revolution, this is in 1792. It's about 3 years after the Bastille uprising. People are against, people just raised a revolution as an issue, and they were ignored by the government. So they went to this tennis court and had a big meeting with lots of people arguing, and the wind blows in to show this tumultuous moment. I'm sorry, 1792 is the year that he did the painting. And this picture took place on June 20th, 1789, which is a few days before Bastille Day. The Independence Day is July 14th, and this is a few days before that. The same picture, there are annotations. This means what, and this person is who, and this people are making it, took an oath, and this is the person in charge of the meeting, and this is Robespierre. He was a Reign of Terror's leader. He killed thousands of people by chopping their heads off, and eventually his head was chopped off. And all these people have annotations, and you can find what they are. And this is another picture of David. It pictured Napoleon inside his palace, which is called the Tuileries. This palace is called the Tuileries. 我们中文叫做杜立拉斯阁，是他们的法国皇帝的 study, 他的书房. And this is a very, very popular painting about three brothers going to a battle, and they swore pledged their loyalty. We can say that they. Here we use the word oath, but you can say they are pledging, or they took their pledge. 宣誓效忠的意思. And here's a painting of Socrates. Socrates is the ancient Greek philosopher. He, because lots of fans, 粉丝 follow him around because he's so brilliant. He taught the young people about new things they never thought about. So the government was not happy. They arrested him for incendiary opinion to raise up the young people to do something bad to the government. So he was sentenced to death. And the way to die is to drink a poison. So you see that before he died, he was perfectly healthy. He was making an oratorio, making a speech. But then he took this poison in this bowl. We had this bowl filled with the poison called the hemlock, and he drank it and he died. And David made this painting, and he made lots of paintings about such events. And this one is Death of Marat. He is a revolutionary leader. He was stabbed to death in his bathtub. So that's a picture of David. And this is a gentle one. It was a socialite. So socialite is a person who is socially important, but not in the heavy way. It's a light person. Okay, socialite. She is a hostess of in his own house. We call it a salon, a hostess of a salon. And he invited all these celebrities, literature people, and government officials. All the famous people came to her house for a party all the time. So David made the picture of that. Here we have Queen Victoria. Let me go quickly. She was here in this chart. We have British monarch, started with Queen Anne in 1707. And then when she died after 17 pregnancies with no heir at all her children, 17 of them, either died after or before birth. So there was no heir. They went to Germany and got this King George from Germany. So that's George first from Hanover. This house is house. 我们说 house 也许像个朝代, but it's different from our dynasty. The word dynasty is we have a revolution. Each time there's a revolution, the entire government changed. But for them, anytime there's a change in the king, if the king has a different last name, then it's a different house. So when Queen Anne died, she was one of the Stuart, House of Stuart. But when she died, they got a king from Germany. That's George, George first, George second, George third, George fourth, and so on and so forth. All of them, and when they died without heir, they grabbed another German princess who is Victoria. So they are all in the house of Hanover, Hanoverian, House of Hanover. And when Victoria died, she passed the throne to his son. But his son, being his son, has the last name of his husband. So the house changed hands when his son became the king. That's Edward VII. Then his son, Edward VII's son, is George V. And what happened? Wonders of wonders. Halfway through George V, because of the war of First World War was happening in 1914 to 1918. And he being a German person, people are very much against him. So he changed his name. He's no longer called Sexy Colbert and Botha. That was his last name. Sexy both Colbert and Botha was his last name for this short period of time. Then he changed the name to Windsor. So every king or queen since then, including Elizabeth II, they are called part of the House of Windsor. That's what I thought I would like to tell you about how they call their houses and how it's changed so in a weird way, huh? So Queen Victoria, she married Prince Albert in 1840 when she was 21. And all his children, he had many children, and they were all married to all the royalties in Europe, and bringing with them hemophilia, which is called 血友病. Hemophilia is a kind of hereditary disease that the blood does not clot. When you have an injury, you would be bleeding, but quickly you would have a scar, or not so quickly, you would have dried blood on this injury, and you would start to heal. But if you have hemophilia, your blood just keep on flowing. So the whole, many household, royal household in Europe had this problem, including Russia. After her husband died, she lived another 40 years. So it's a long time. She was married for 21 years only, but she was widowed for 40 years. And she was plunged into depression, and she just would not go to court at all for years and years. And the people did not like her at all. She used to be very popular. Then people were starting to talk about the republic. They want to have a 民主的共和国, huh? However, gradually she finally came out of depression. She wore black for 40 years until she died. But the later half of that 40 years, she became more active, and the people started to like her. These are the movies I'm not going to talk about, because Judi Dench played the Queen Victoria in 2 movies. One is Mrs. Brown, and one is Victoria and Abdul, which is an Indian servant she acquired to go to London to help her, and they had a great friendship. Maybe not romantically involved, but they became very good friends, and this man is married. Okay, and of course, Judi Dench she played M here. She played M 8 times in 007 movies. And her first movie that we heard about was when she was 51 years old. That's amazing for an actress to start being heard by people when she was 51 years old. That is from our American point of view, because she was relatively famous in England for a long time, for the first 20, 30 years, okay? I need to tell you about saccharin. Last time I spelled saccharin with 1 C, it should be 2. And I told you a saccharin was the kind of fake sugar. No, saccharin means sugar-like, sugar-like. However, that kind of fake sugar is called a saccharin without E. This is here, saccharin, a sugar substitute. And when you say saccharin with an E, that means related to sugar. Or as an adjective, it is to describe a person disgustingly sweet, to the point of being ridiculous, sentimental or romantic to the point of being ridiculous. Okay, syrupy, that's all this word means. And these are the sugar substitute. We're not going to talk about it. We have all these fake sugar. Okay, that's all for today. I'm sorry it took so long, but I'm glad I talked to you about the Electoral College. When I just started, I saw that we saw the, where is it? Not this one. Where I'm trying to find, not this. Anyway, I want to go to Google. Let me see if I can successfully go to Google. No, oh, share. Okay. Can you hear my, see my Google? I would like to make,
Yes.
see my,
Yeah,
yeah,
Michigan. Biden just won Michigan.
yeah. We have Michigan and there's some already called earlier today, Wisconsin. So it looks very good. Yeah, if I refresh this same page, I could probably see more states declared. So there's Michigan, and however, this map did not have Wisconsin, and the AP, which is a 美联社哈，美联 Allied.
I saw Biden got 264.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. And 214, the other one.
Oh, okay. So Trump did not get anything.
So far, no.
Yeah, we're